Welcome to another edition of Rocky Top Rundown, your one-stop shop for everything Tennessee athletics. I'm Brycen Ritchie.
And I'm Alfred Ezman.
We start at Neyland Stadium, where reporter Caleb Colvin asked fans their opinion on freshman Nico Iamaleava. While Nico has seen very little action on the field behind Joe Milton, there is no one quite as popular as the five-star backup to a struggling starter.
Okay, do you think they will see Nico play today?
Nico, I mean, it depends. Like, if we start crushing them, he might come in. But if Cannon Joe starts, like, just sucking like he was last week, then we might see Nico in this week again, bro.
Well, I think if we get a big enough lead.
Yes.
Not expecting Nico to play today. Okay. I expect us to take care of business.
I think he might get it in probably the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think he'll probably get into the fourth quarter because it's going to be a rout.
And when he gets out there, do you think that he'll play well, or?
I think he'll play well. We're expecting good things out of him this year and next year.
Well, he's still a freshman, and this SEC is very different from California high school ball.
He's going to throw 4 passes for a touchdown.
They'll probably get the run game going first couple plays, and then he'll start passing. I think he gets a touchdown by the end of the day.
Do you think that he'll be able to push for the starting quarterback job, or no?
I don't think so at this time. Maybe later in the year. It just depends on how the season goes.
I think he's a little green right now to be able to execute the offense like they want to execute.
No, not starting quarterback because he's got to build, but he's going to be a dog.
And what about his skill set that you've heard about? What are you most excited to see?
Decision making.
I seen his pocket passing. I remember when he was playing in California, he was slinging that thing all over the field.
I think his running ability is the best.
So he's a little bit more mobile than Joe.
Do you think that it's best for Nico to play as much as possible this year since they're not going to redshirt him, or just wait until next year where he's probably going to be the full-time starter?
Nah, I think wait till next year because he's behind Joe right now, and Joe can teach him a lot of things.
No, I think he needs to get experience this year so he's ready to go next year.
No, Nico's ready.
I hope he plays as much as possible because that means we're winning big.
I think you want him out there as much as possible because he's got to come in next year and start if he doesn't start later this year. I think that's all going to be dictated by how the season goes. If the season falls apart, you're going to see him. I think you'll see him in the starting role.
I think that we will be surprised in his output next year.
2 years, Tennessee National Championship.
Thanks, Caleb. The number 23 Volunteers faced the UTSA Roadrunners Saturday in Neyland Stadium. The Vols needed to get back on track after a disappointing 29-16 loss at Florida. This was a critical opportunity for Tennessee to gain some of their confidence back before a 4-game stretch of SEC matchups. Let's get into it.
Yep, let's get right to the highlights, and there were a lot of them. We'll begin, though, with a D. Williams return from his own end zone out towards the 20-yard line, setting the Vols up for 1st and 10. And how about this? First play of the game. Who said Joe couldn't get mobile? Look at this. Splitting the defense. Looking very nice down the field. Big strides all the way to the 30, 20, 10, for an 81-yard touchdown. It was the longest touchdown by a Tennessee quarterback ever in program history. Then we skip over to this UTSA punt. The special teams unit does a good job getting to the ball and blocking it. However, a little bit of a mishap right here. Cam Selden touches the football. UTSA falls on the fumble, and they will get the football back. We skip it on over, though, to the second quarter. Jabari Small, the run game's been so good for Tennessee. It was good this day as well. Big run here down to the 20-yard line. Small had 61 yards on the afternoon.
And there is no time to waste here. Milton is going to throw 18 yards to Caleb Webb. A 2-play touchdown for Tennessee. How about that? We're going to go ahead and move on early into the third quarter. Ramel Keaton had a really impressive catch here. 48 yards for another Tennessee touchdown. That's going to bring the score 28-0 going into halftime here. And that crowd was really loving it. This was a switch up from Florida. Fans were very excited at how the Vols were performing at this game. Later on in the third, UTSA sets up for a middle screen, and Robert Henry carries to the 3-yard line, setting up UTSA to get their first touchdown of the game. About 5 minutes left in the third. McCown passes 43 yards to Ogle Kellogg. He breaks free. He's securing the Roadrunners a second touchdown of the game, bringing that score back on up to 31-14 heading into the fourth.
Yeah, UTSA certainly made it interesting. You know who else made it interesting? Dylan Sampson. Big touchdown run here, his second of the day. Sampson definitely might be the player of this game. 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. Good to see him get back in action after a quiet game against Florida. Final score in Knoxville, 45-14. Tennessee takes the win over UTSA. The crowd certainly played a factor in the game. The Vols fans loved seeing them get another win. It was Matthew Dingus, our reporter, on the site at the tailgates in game, reflecting on the crowd and how they played a factor.
The Volunteers returned home for a month-long homestand after a tough loss in Gainesville. They would be welcomed back home by yet another sellout crowd on a Saturday afternoon in Neyland Stadium. Tailgates were aplenty as football season is finally in full swing, with fans young and old enjoying the festivities. Whether it was at Circle Park, the Volunteer Village, or on top of G10, there were plenty of people wearing orange, showing their volunteer spirits. As the Volunteer faithful made their way towards Neyland Stadium, many were filled with nervous anticipation after being left with many questions following last week's disappointing loss. Thankfully, Tennessee quickly extinguished those doubts as the Vols scored fast and early, with 100,000 singing Rocky Top all night long. From Neyland Stadium, Matthew Dingus.
Thanks, Matt. But let's move on to volleyball. The 14th ranked Lady Vols returned home for their first SEC match of the season against the Missouri Tigers, where Tennessee coach Eve Rackham-Watt had the opportunity to secure her 100th career win. Let's go out now to Thompson Boiling Arena at the Food City Center for the highlights. We begin the game with Missouri jumping out to a 16-12 lead on Tennessee, but the Lady Vols would battle back with a crushing shot from redshirt sophomore Emily Becker. Moving on to the second set, the Vols defense would come up with a huge block, 1 of 7 in the game, to secure the first set 26-24 in a true back-and-forth battle all night.
Absolutely. The second set would be a back-and-forth affair early, but Morgan Finghall lands one of her 3 aces in the set to swing the momentum in favor of the Lady Vols. Later in the set, reigning SEC Player of the Week, Caroline Kerr, throws down a nice deceptive shot to put the Lady Vols up by 2. We go to set point as sophomore Kiki Granberry puts down a nice block to seal the victory in the second set for the Lady Vols.
2-0 Vols in the first 2 sets. Missouri would try to make it interesting with a nice block to get the first point of the third set. However, Tennessee would fire right back with a blast right here by grad transfer to Janasia Moore, which started a 6-0 run for the Lady Vols. We skip now to match point, where Tennessee would secure the 25-11 victory over the Tigers with the season-high 12th block of the match. The victory earned the Lady Vols the 8th sweep of the season and moves their record to now 11-1, as they also had a win at Kentucky on Sunday. Now it's time for a little midweek rundown of Talkin' Tennessee, where Brycen and I will be discussing the Volunteers' upcoming season and performance so far. Well, Brycen, it was a good win both against Missouri and Kentucky this week. 2 sweeps in a row. This team is hot right now.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that win last night. I mean, they swept 3 sets on the road in Lexington, and this was a big deal for the Lady Vols. They haven't won against Kentucky since 2016, and they haven't won not at home, so in Lexington, since 2010. That was a big deal. That atmosphere, they were really having to battle a lot of adversity, battling with that crowd noise. There was about 3,400 people in attendance last night for that game. Just to put that in perspective, their last away game was at Marquette, and they only had about 1,100 people there. So that was a big difference for the Lady Vols. And to sweep all 3 sets, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and it bodes well for them going forward. I mean, they have 3 straight SEC matchups on the road coming up. And, with the crowd Kentucky brought, there's no telling what these other schools will bring to their games against the Tennessee Vols, too. I got to give a lot of credit, to Morgan Finghall and Janasia Moore. They've both been stellar on the front row with their offense. 140 kills plus each amongst them. That's leading the SEC right now. They've been a big factor in wins, and the defense has also been good too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They were a wall at the net last night. They had 10 blocks, and on top of that, they had 54 digs, which is just really impressive. They were not giving anything up.
No, absolutely not. And got to give credit, too, to Eve Rackham-Watt, her 100th win at Tennessee in volleyball. Huge milestone for her and this team, and that definitely gives them a lot of confidence going forward into these next few games.
Right, what I absolutely love about them is how they don't let that confidence affect how hard they work. Rackham-Watt had said that their goal is just to continue working to be the best, and I love that. They've been climbing in the rankings, their stats have been climbing, but they have not let that make them complacent. They have continued to fight, continued to work, and I've really enjoyed watching that and can't wait to see what they bring in those next few games.
Yes, and hopefully that confidence continues to carry them forward, as their next 3 matchups are at Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, and at Alabama. Well, That's all we have for this edition of Rocky Top Rundown. I'm Alfred Ezman.
And I'm Brycen Ritchie. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you here again next time.